Ay nako, nakakatamad talaga ngayong araw. O sige, maghahanap na lang ako ng diamonds. Baka sakaling swertihin ako ngayong araw. Kahit nakakapagod to, baka swerte naman ako ngayon. Alright, o sige. Mukhang maganda ngayong araw ah. Mukhang ramdam ko na swerte ako. Hehehehe. O maya ako na kayo anina. Alis muna ako. Hello sa inyong dalawa. Kamusta kayo? Dapat swertein ako ngayong araw. Sana makakuha ako ng diamonds. Teka lang. Bakit ang dami yatang tumutubong bulaklak ngayong araw? Uy! Dami ng itlog ng mga manok ko ah. Hehehehe. Damihan nyo pa. Ikaw Piggy. Baka gusto mong pumasok dyan gawin kong alaga. Ay nako, o sige na nga, makapaghukay na muna. O saglit, teka lang, ano yun? Ngayon ko lang napansin to ah. Parang may kakaiba dito. Merong isang lever. Ano kaya to? Uy! Wow! Bumukas. Teka, ano kaya meron dito? Baka naman may monster dito ah. Ops, baka sumara to. Hindi naman siguro. O sige, papasukin ko na to. Titingnan ko kung ano meron dito. Hello po, baka may tao dito. May tao ba rito? Teka, wala. Uy, lamig. Lamig ng tubig. Naku, may chest. Ano kaya laman yan? Tara, tignan nga natin. Lamig talaga ng tubig dito. Ano ba yan? Ano kaya laman nito? Sana mga diamonds. Ano? Isang libro. Baka naman libro ng kayamanan to. Teka, pero parang hindi naman eh. O sige, labas na tayo. Babasahin ko na to. Titignan ko kung anong mga nakasulat. Hahaha. O sige, uuwi na ako. So kaya babasahin to. Mukhang isang kwento ito ah. O sige, dito na lang siguro sa taas. Mas maganda rito eh. Alright, sisimulan ko na dito to. Babasahin ko na.
In a distant town, there is a young man. While the young man was fishing, someone appeared to him.
It's a fairy.
But the young man did not immediately notice the very beautiful fairy until it speaks. Fairy said,
Please help me, young man.
The young man was surprised and fell off the boat. The young man was still wondering what he heard, and the fairy appeared again. The fairy spoke, Help me, young man, save my people from Medusa. And the young man spoke,
Are you a fairy?
said the young man, and he looked as if he was amazed by this.
The fairy answered and said this. Yes, I am a fairy and I need your help, young man.
Said the young man, I'll help you. Even the young man did not know what he would face, and the fairy thanked him, and the young man went home. The young man put his things aside and took what he needed. And the young man took his clothes. And the young man put on his armor. And the fairy spoke again.
And it said, I have something to give you, and I know you will need it.
And the young man said, Yes, okay, but what are these?
The fairy answered again.
A body booster and an invisibility, and a potion of poison, said the fairy. Thank you, said the young man. This is a big help, said the young man. And when the young man was leaving,
The fairy spoke again.
I will accompany you on your journey, because I will serve as your guide and guide along the way,
And this is.
where the journey of our little hero will begin.
On their journey, they reached the first destination.
And the fairy said that.
Don't worry, because there is no danger here.
The young man spoke and said, Don't worry, because I can handle anything. My enemies. The young man stopped
And wondered why the tree was moving. He slowly looked up and was surprised by it, because it was so big and moving.
He jumped up and ran, and said, Fairy, young man, don't run. This is a big forest, or we will get lost. The young man stopped again, and the fairy spoke again. Don't be afraid. They guard the forest. They are not bad. As long as you don't destroy anything in the forest, they will not attack you. The two continued their journey and reached the second destination. Said our little fairy,
We are here where the goblins are. They catch mermaids and harden them in ice for display.
and sold to the rich. And said the young man with courage,
I will fight them.
and the young man did fight the goblins. Be careful, said the beautiful fairy. The young man said,
Don't worry, little fairy.
I will defeat these goblins, and I will release the mermaid they captured, said the young man. And said fairy, just be careful, young man,
Because you are my only hope.
said the fairy. And the young man defeated the goblins one by one. And our young man defeated the goblins, and our little hero released the mermaid. And the fairy said that,
I did not make a mistake in choosing you, young man.
said the fairy with pleasure in what she said. And the young man approached the mermaid. And our little hero said, if he is okay. And the fairy spoke, and he told the mermaid if she was okay. And the mermaid answered and said to the two, thank you for saving my life, and it's a good thing you didn't reach Medusa. He defeated the queen with ice and made her a disciple.
And it surprised the fairy.
And the fairy said that,
Medusa's evil must be defeated, because if not, all the beautiful women will gradually be enslaved.
and the two continued to their third destination. And said fairy,
We are now at the third destination, the Silent Sands.
said the fairy. Be careful of the sand, said the fairy. Why do I have to be careful with the sand? Said the young man. And the fairy answered again, because the sand here eats those who move, said the fairy. And the young man was surprised by what the fairy said.
Look, what are those?
Said the young man. That's what I'm telling you, so that you can eat even hard things, said our beautiful fairy.
I just have to run fast.
I can do it. The young man had a nervous feeling in his chest. And the young man survived the sand monsters. And the little fairy said jokingly, you can join the speed run with us. And the young man said,
All right, when it's over, I'll join what you're saying.
the little hero said, and the two continued their adventure and they reached the fourth destination.
We are now at the fourth destination.
Said the fairy, the land of the Lamacon. The young man was amazed at what he saw.
Because of the horn and colourful tail of this white animal.
And suddenly our little hero rode it.
The fairy was surprised by what he did.
And said fairy,
Just because lamacons look kind and colourful doesn't mean they're kind. Lamacons are one of the aggressive ones.
fairy said. And the young man just laughed at what the fairy said. And the fairy just smiled too.
And he said to himself that Lamacon saw his good heart.
And the two continued to their final destination. And the young man saw a woman and approached her. Said the fairy,
Be careful, young man. She is the queen of the ice that the mermaid said you saved. She is now Medusa's ally.
said the fairy. And the young man did not know what to do.
What will I do now? Said the young man to the fairy.
And the young man jumped on the Lamacon. And the fairy said that you have to kill him. We can't do anything, said the fairy.
And our little hero did nothing but fight the ice queen. Even if it's against him, he has to kill it.
And our hero's ice queen has been defeated. And the young man will face Medusa.
Be careful, young man. Medusa is strong even though she is a woman.
Said the fairy.
And this is what our little hero will fight with Medusa.
Said the young man, I have to get ready. And be careful because my opponent is strong. And said fairy, you are right, young man. And the young man said that he was ready to face Medusa. And the young man opened the stone door. The young man was surprised because he didn't know Medusa was already at the door when he opened it. And suddenly Medusa came out and mercilessly attacked the young man. The young man did nothing but run away. And the young man died from Medusa's poison attack. And said fairy, this is my fault.
I thought he could handle Medusa.
There is only one way. I will give my remaining strength and power so that you can be strong and live. and the young man is alive again and wonders at himself.
And once again, the young man prepared to fight Medusa.
And this time he will face Medusa without fear. And indeed, the young man attacked Medusa without stopping until it died. And our little hero defeated Medusa. And the young man said, "Did you see that fairy?"
I defeated Medusa.
But no one answered. The young man wondered why the fairy was not there, so he looked for it, because he thought it was inside Medusa's house. He called it again and again inside Medusa's house, but no one answers and the fairy does not appear. The young man arrived inside Medusa's room.
But he still didn't see anything. He called her again.
"Fairy, fairy, where are you now?" said the young man.
But no fairy actually comes out, so the young man decided to go out.
The young man wondered why the fairy did not appear to him. He knows nothing, that the fairy gave his remaining strength to live. It's sad that the fairy disappeared, but our little hero lived and Medusa's evil has ended, and the fairies have been freed from Medusa's evil.
Ano ba yan? Nakakalungkot naman pala yung ending nito. Namatay yung fairy. Pero ang kagandahan, natalo niya si Medusa. Matigil na din ang kasamaan niya. Natalo siya ng hero dito sa libro dahil din dun sa fairy. Kasi ibinigay niya yung buhay at lakas niya para mabuhay ulit yung hero dito sa libro. Ay nako, natapos ko na din tong basahin. Natapos na din tong ating adventure dito sa libro. Hehehe. Dito ko natatapusin to mga tropa pits. Hanggang sa susunod na lang ulit ah. Paalam sa inyo.